In the deep silence of the Arabian desert, where the heat rises from the sand like a phantom and the sun shows no mercy, there stands a structure of simple black stone. Today, millions circle it in tears and devotion, but there was a time when this house stood silent, surrounded by the deafening arrogance of men who had forgotten who truly held the keys to their existence. Imagine a time when the guardians of the Kaaba, the very custodians of the sacred sanctuary, walked with their chests puffed out in pride, challenging the very heavens. They looked at the house of Allah and claimed it as their property. They looked at the pilgrims and claimed the honor of feeding them as their own personal glory. They forgot that before the gold, before the trade, and before the power, there was only hunger. There was only fear. "Where is this Lord you speak of?" the chieftains would sneer, their voices echoing against the stone idols they had carved with their own hands. "We are the Quraish. We are the sons of this valley. Who protects this house if not us? Who feeds the world when they come to us if not our caravans?" Pride has a way of blinding the heart more effectively than sand blinds the eye. It acts like a wax in the ears, deafening the soul to the truth. They stood before the Kaaba, surrounded by 360 stone gods, and dared to challenge the creator of the heavens and the earth. They asked for the unseen Lord to stand before the gods of Quraish, not realizing that the air they breathed and the safety they enjoyed were gifts from the very one they mocked. Even the idols they worshipped, if they could speak, would have testified against their foolishness. This is not just a story of ancient history. It is the timeless tragedy of the human condition. The story of arrogance before worship, of prosperity leading to amnesia. This is the story of the tribe that bowed to stone while eating the provision of the Most High. This is the profound and often misunderstood story of Surah Quraish. To understand the weight of this chapter, we must step away from the rote memorization we see in so many households today. In homes across the world, and perhaps even in your own, children are taught to recite these short verses. Li-ilafi Quraish, they chant, focused on the melody, focused on the pronunciation. We repeat it in our prayers, we carry it on our tongues, but how often do we let the reality of it sink into our hearts? Why did the Master of the universe address this one tribe by name? Why, in a book meant for all eternity, is there a specific reminder about winter and summer journeys? The answer lies buried beneath the sands of time, in a period before the Quraysh were kings of trade, when they were merely survivors clinging to life in a barren valley. Long before the silk robes and the feasts, the reality of Mecca was dust and desperation. Picture the valley, not as a center of commerce, but a trap of starvation. The Quraysh were not always the powerful merchants of Arabia. There was a time when the desert itself seemed to weep for them. The wells ran dry, the sun beat down on empty bellies. Inside the homes of Mecca, the silence was broken only by the whimpering of children fading away from hunger. Mothers would look into the eyes of their infants and see the shadow of death approaching. Fathers would sit with their heads in their hands, helpless, watching their families wither. In their desperation, they turned to what they could see. They turned to stone. They fell prostrate before Hubal, the great idol of red agate. "Oh, Hubal," they would cry, their voices cracking with thirst. "Send us rain. Send us bread. Save our children." They offered their tears to statues that could not see, offered their pleas to ears that could not hear, and the response from the stone was always the same. Cold, hard, indifferent silence. No clouds gathered. No grain sprouted from the dry earth. The famine gnawed at the very bones of the tribe. The patience of the people was eroding like the sandstone cliffs in the wind. The millstones sat still, gathering dust, for there was no grain to grind. Mecca was on the brink of extinction. It was in this moment of absolute despair, when the shadow of death loomed largest, that hope arrived not from a stone idol, but through the inspiration given to a man. A name began to circulate through the valley, whispered at first, then spoken with rising excitement. Hashim ibn Abd Manaf. He was a man of vision, the great-grandfather of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He looked at the starving valley and realized that waiting for the sky to rain was not the solution. He saw that Mecca's location, desolate as it was, sat at a crossroads. He proposed a radical idea, a solution that would change the destiny of the Arabian Peninsula forever. "My people," Hashim declared, standing before the gathered elders who were weak with hunger. "If this house truly belongs to Allah, then his people must not starve." He did not look to the idols. He looked at the horizon. He proposed the journeys, the rihla. He organized the caravans to move with the rhythm of the seasons. In the biting cold of winter, they would travel south to Yemen, a land of spices, textiles, and abundance. In the scorching heat of summer, they would travel north to the cool, fertile lands of Sham, Syria, where markets overflowed with grain and goods from the Byzantine Empire. The people were skeptical. They asked, "Travel? Beyond the valley? The desert is filled with raiders. The bandits will slaughter us before we even see the borders of Yemen. Our camels are weak. The roads are treacherous." It seemed like madness. To leave the safety of the sanctuary for the open, lawless desert was a death sentence. But Hashim gave them a shield stronger than iron. He reminded them of their identity. "When you meet a bandit," he told them, "do not fight. Say to them, 'We are the people of Allah's house. We are the neighbors of the sanctuary.'" So the experiment began. The first caravan set out, dust rising behind them as they disappeared into the vast unknown. Months passed. Anxiety gripped those who remained. But then the horizon shifted. Shapes appeared in the distance, camels laden with heavy sacks, the sound of bells, the shouting of men returning, not with news of death, but with the bounty of the world. They brought back wheat, leather, perfumes, and gold. The hunger ended. The mills began to turn again. The valley of tears became a valley of laughter. This system became known as ilaf, a term that signifies a pact, a habit, a gathering, and a sense of safety. It was a treaty of security that Hashim established with the tribes along the route, but more than a political treaty, it was a spiritual passport. Because they were the custodians of the Kaaba, the wild tribes of the desert who would rob and kill anyone else without a second thought lowered their swords when they saw the Quraish. "Let them pass," the bandit chiefs would say. "These are the people of the sanctuary. If we harm them, the wrath of the Lord of the house may fall upon us." Think about the irony of this. The Arab tribes respected the Quraysh because of the Kaaba, the house of the one true God. Yet the Quraysh filled that house with idols. They enjoyed the safety provided by the reputation of Allah's sanctuary while denying Allah's exclusive right to worship. With each passing year, the caravans grew larger. The two journeys, winter and summer, became the heartbeat of Mecca's economy. The tribe that had once begged for a crust of bread became the wealthiest in Arabia. They wore the finest silks from Damascus and smelled of the rarest oud from Yemen. They became the kings of the desert. But with full bellies came hard hearts. The memory of the hunger faded. The desperation of the dry years was buried under layers of gold and pride. And we know what happened next. It is recorded in Surah Al-Fil. The Quraysh watched from the cliffs as the sky turned dark, not with clouds, but with birds, ababil, small creatures carrying stones of baked clay. The mighty army, the terrifying elephants, the soldiers in their armor, they were decimated, left like chewed-up straw in the field. The Kaaba stood untouched. The Quraysh were saved without lifting a sword. You would think that witnessing such a miracle, seeing the sky rain death upon their enemies to protect them, would seal their faith forever. You would think they would fall into eternal prostration to the Lord of the Kaaba. And for a while, perhaps they did feel awe. But the human being is forgetful. As the years passed, the terror of the elephant faded into a story told around fires. The fear turned back into pride. They rationalized the miracle. They absorbed the honor of the victory for themselves. We are the people God protects, they said, because we are special. And they returned to their trade, their profits, and their idols. Then the ultimate mercy arrived. Allah sent a messenger from among them. Muhammad, peace be upon him, a man of their own blood, known for his honesty, stood upon Mount Safa and called them back to reality. He reminded them of their history. He called them to gratitude. But how did the chieftains of Quraysh respond? Did they remember the hunger? Did they remember the elephants? No. They looked at their wealth, their status, and their power, and they used the very blessings Allah gave them to fight His messenger. Abu Lahab, the Prophet's own uncle, stood up and cursed him. The elite of Mecca mocked him. Why would we listen to you, they asked. We have the house, we have the trade, we have the respect of Arabia. They boycotted the Prophet. They starved his family. The same tribe that had been saved from starvation by Allah now tried to use starvation as a weapon against Allah's beloved. The irony was devastating. It was in this context that Allah revealed Surah Quraish. It was not just a poem, it was a mirror held up to their faces. It was a divine argument, dismantling their arrogance with 4 short, powerful verses. Li'ilafi Quraish, for the accustomed security of the Quraysh. Allah is reminding them, who gave you this ilaf? Who gave you this pact of safety that allows you to walk through a land of wolves without fear? It is not your swords, it is my decree. Ilafihim rihlata shita'i wa sayf. Their accustomed security in the caravan of winter and summer. Allah is pointing to their source of wealth, the winter journey to Yemen, the summer journey to Syria. You take these for granted. You schedule them like clockwork. But who holds the winds? Who holds the hearts of the tribes you pass? Who keeps the mountain paths firm under your camel's feet? فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ. So let them worship the Lord of this house. This is the command. If you value your trade, if you value your safety, if you value your prestige, then bow down to the source of it all. Not the house itself, but the Lord of the house. Don't worship the structure, worship the sustainer. الَّذِي أَطْعَمَهُم مِّن جُوعٍ وَآمَنَهُم مِّن خَوْفٍ. The one who fed them against hunger and secured them from fear. This is the crushing reminder. Allah takes them back to the days of empty bellies. Remember when you were starving? Remember when you were afraid? I took the hunger away. I took the fear away. And this is how you repay me? With arrogance? With stone gods? This surah ties directly to Surah Al-Fil. In Al-Fil, Allah showed His power by destroying the enemy. In Surah Quraish, He shows His mercy by feeding the ungrateful. One is the stick, the other is the carrot. Both are reasons to worship. But friends, as we reflect on this story here at Islamic Light Stories TV, we must ask the uncomfortable question. Are we really so different from the Quraysh? We read this surah and shake our heads at their stubbornness, but let us look in the mirror. We live in an age of unprecedented ilaf. We have our winter and summer comforts. We have climate-controlled homes that shield us from the heat and the cold. We have supermarkets overflowing with food from every corner of the globe. Fruits from South America in the dead of winter, spices from the East available on every corner. We have security systems, insurance policies, and police forces. We plan our careers and our retirements with the same certainty that the Quraysh planned their caravans. We trust our paychecks to feed us. We trust our locks to protect us. When we open a full refrigerator, do we see the hand of Allah? Or do we just see the result of our hard work? When we sleep safely in our beds, free from the sound of bombing or the threat of invasion, do we thank the Lord of the house? Or do we attribute it to our country's military or our good neighborhood? We suffer from the same spiritual amnesia. We get comfortable. The blessings become background noise, expected rights rather than gifted privileges. We begin to think, I earned this, I studied for this, I built this. We forget that a microscopic virus can shut down the entire world's trade routes in weeks. We forget that a shift in the tectonic plates can bring down our secure houses in seconds. We forget that the hunger and fear that plagues so much of the world could easily visit us if Allah willed it. Surah Quraish is a call to awaken from the coma of comfort. It is a reminder that safety is not a natural state of the world. It is a specific intervention of God. Provision is not a logical result of labor. It is a mercy from the provider. The Quraysh eventually lost their honor because they refused to submit to the source of their honor. It took the conquest of Mecca years later for the idols to be smashed and the call of Allahu Akbar to ring out true over the valley. We do not want to learn the lesson the hard way. We do not want to wait for the hunger to return or the fear to strike before we remember who feeds and protects us. So the next time you recite, Alladhi at'amahum min ju'in wa amanahum min khawf, pause. Feel the fullness in your stomach. Feel the safety of your surroundings. And realize that you are a traveler in this world, dependent entirely on the ilaf granted by your Creator. Let this surah not just be words on your tongue, but a state of gratitude in your soul. Here at Islamic Light Stories TV, our goal is to bring these timeless lessons out of the history books and into your daily life. If this reminder has touched your heart, if it has made you look at your blessings a little differently today, then please help us share this message. Subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs this reminder. Let us be a people who remember, a people who are grateful, and a people who worship the Lord of this house, not out of habit, but out of deep, trembling love. May Allah protect us from the hunger of the body and the hunger of the soul. May He secure us from fear in this world and on the day of judgment. And may He make us among the truly thankful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.